Good afternoon or evening, depending on who you are and where you are in the world. Welcome to Mike. Welcome to another episode of CTO Coffee Hour. I'm Matt Lee with Schematical.com, and with me is Dominic DeMarco.
Good afternoon. Good evening. Absolutely. Salute.
Salute. So, today we're talking about a report I found that says about 20% of all retail sales in 2025 for the holiday season driven by AI, which sounds like a lot to me,
Mhm.
but as you dive into the article a little bit, it's not necessarily that AI made the purchases, but
Correct.
influenced it or were utilized in the
Driven by is a very broad term in this context.
yeah. So I figured that would be something fun to talk about.
hmm
And
Well,
I've got the report over here, but
yeah,
basically,
let's talk about what driven by means because it's direct, it's indirect, it's a lot of different things. But
so a lot of
it's
it's
it's hugely impactful. Hugely impactful.
well, I always joke about talk smack about people that just shoehorn in a chat widget and everything.
hmm
Well, evidently, if implemented correctly, which I'm not, that surprises me less, these companies are saying it has had a significant impact on their bottom line. So you can't just slap a chat widget on it. You have to actually put the chat widget on it and give it, appropriate tool calls when necessary. Some of which appear to be customer service driven.
hmm
Um, I could see search
Recommendation
being,
engine.
yeah, right. Well, recommendation engine. That's a good question. I was thinking this was more agentic traffic, and
Ah,
um, and a lot of it looked like it was putting the chat widget on your website. I actually wish they had a better differential for the people that bring their own agent. So you go and you type into your agent of choice, Gemini or whatever that's got some memory of your Claude, and it went out there and went shopping for you. I would love to see the numbers of that compared to the amount of numbers where they're talking to a chatbot that lives on the e-commerce's website.
25% from agentic feels heavy. Overall, AI, when we first started talking about this, it's okay. If you cast a broad net of everywhere where AI is implemented, I could buy that. But just agentic, that seems huge, really.
Well, agentic. This is not saying that 20% is agentic. No, this is saying that 20% either had agentic or had a chatbot that lived on their website, and I don't think they even separated out if that was 20. That 20% was just a random chatbot versus a chatbot with proper tool calls and all that stuff.
Mm.
So but they do mention both of them, which is interesting. I also don't think it's recommendation engines
Mhm.
that they're looking at. That might be something in here. I have to go back and reread it again. I write these in batch, so they kind of go all over the place. But yeah, it seems like it's growing. So I mean, which doesn't surprise me. Once I realized like the power of tool calls and people having their own agents, it seemed more likely that we would see people's agents doing shopping for them to filter out
Mhm.
all the other crap that they try and send your way. So you could, the websites only give you so much flexibility in your searches. And so, but your agent has basically an unlimited amount of potential, assuming you want to pay for it. It could keep just going back and forth. I mean, I guess if it had the right access controls, but I think that number is going to grow, is what I'm hinting at.
Well, we've been talking about agents out there doing things for you for on and off for months.
A year
And the question,
about.
yeah, probably. And really, what it's going to do for you is saying, okay, and your one of your favorite examples has always been shoes. Find me a pair of red shoes,
Hmm.
where it's going to know your preferences instead of going to Amazon or Zappos or DSW or Nike and saying I want red shoes. It's going to be able to go broad and wide. You have yourself a pick 'em up truck. If you wanted to get some sort of particular items for this truck, hey, I want to find every roll bar that's available. Now go find me those that have the best reviews or these particular features so that you don't have to spend ages searching for everything. So
Right.
that is a part of this whole agentic 25%, people doing things like this. And that's only going to grow because Google is generic.
Hmm.
To a certain degree. I mean, of course, it customizes the search results, but this is going to be the shy a little bit of this word, the pinnacle of customization in search, at
Yeah.
least in the current context.
And Google's trying to get away from just being Google to have their Gemini. So they've got their own,
Hmm.
agent in there, which has some amount of customization, but not nearly as
Mm,
much. Well, depending on how you utilize it, not nearly as much as all the others. So,
mm,
um, yeah, it seemed if you're thinking about allowing this in there, then you may want to expose some customer service interactions too. I'd be definitely would want to make it so they could search your product catalog,
mm,
with some amount of limits. Of course, now when I say expose some of your customer service stuff, do not allow your AI agent on your side, their side, any other side to approve refunds or anything like that without a human in the loop. All right. My recommendation would be to make it so it gathers up all the relevant information. What's the case? What's the problem?
mm,
Have you tried troubleshooting A, B, C, D? Okay. All right. Well, we're at the point where it seems like a recommendation is feasible. We're going to send it over to a human being that's going to review all the stuff
mm.
in 2 minutes that would have taken them 20 minutes to gather via phone or via chat, and they will make the decision on it. So I think that's the way to go. A lot of people make the mistake of giving too much power to these
Mm.
things, and just there needs to be a human in the loop currently. I mean, maybe if you could moneyball it and like the approval was so small and it only happened X amount of times and this was a highly returned item, then maybe you could say, okay, anybody that asks for a
Mm.
return on the specific item that has a defect that, it's only going to cost us a penny per refund instead of, a
Mm.
big thing, then maybe we'd do that. But anything of any significance, do not give it the ability to
Well,
refund.
I mean, you say it's going to bounce over a person, et cetera, and that sounds like a perfect case for one of your all-time favorite architectures being an event-driven architecture as well versus a real-time architecture.
Absolutely, absolutely. No, you queue that one up and have a human go through that. I mean, the idea is not to completely get rid of your customer service team, but
Mm.
to minimize the amount of human hours, customer service hours spent servicing any one problem. So that
Well,
way,
and moving them to more high-value problems instead of having them spend 20 minutes trying to figure out what the customer is looking for, help them. This isn't coming out quite right. But moving them up to more high-value items within the decision tree, essentially.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Figuring out new ways to surprise and delight your customer.
Mm,
So instead of having them spend their time, gathering information, have the chatbot, which is again, LLMs are decent enough interface. I think, I'm not sure I'd give them too much decision making power, but they're
mm,
as an interface, they can take, a lot of different information and format it in a way that quickly can accelerate your customer service
mm.
team's abilities. So
Now, the,
that's
the the potential downside to this, however, and it's hinted in your article, is how many tokens can somebody burn in this, and is there going to be ROI in it? I mean, it probably depends on the size of the ticket of the item you're going after, as well as how many people are using it and what the percentage of those that use it actually make purchases.
it, and that's the math you've got to do for the customer service one. If you haven't made a purchase with us, I would limit the amount of tokens you could burn on it. But if
Mm,
we've seen that you've got a pattern of purchasing with us, I'd be willing to spend a bit more, or have the AI or just even the system, the predetermined code, elevate that to a human. So if you're like our VIP one, maybe you
mm,
bypass the chat, or they can only they use the chat if they want to, but it'll try and elevate it to a human sooner. If you're completely anonymous in the web and you've not bought anything, then I'd
mm,
be watching those numbers very closely, and I'd be
mm, mm.
caching results whenever possible. In that
and,
case, so
and and capping the number of tokens or searches or something they
it,
can do. For example, you can only do so many notebook LM. You can only do so much if it's free. If you're a Google business subscriber, you get more, and then you can go up tiers and levels from there.
you got it. I come to your website. I'm completely anonymous. I only get X amount of tokens to,
Mm,
basically spend. You say, hey, give us your email address and sign up and verify your email. Well, then you get a little bit more,
mm,
so you can work your way up that ladder of trust um, each time. But yeah, I would
mm.
keep a close eye on that for sure.
So where is
So
this going? Who is this going to impact beyond the consumer? If you're a business, what type of business should be looking at this for the not too really super terribly far off 2026 holiday season?
I mean, B2C e-commerce is it seems like it could improve them quite a bit. Um, B2C info is going to be interesting because that's a different type of thing where you've got an information product or something of that nature. Like if you're a blogger, I don't know about that, but now B to, I mean, honestly, even B2C
Mhm,
and B2B e-commerce, both of them can be utilized quite a bit to use this technology to, filter out window shoppers, to,
mhm,
channel people and gather information and customize their experience. I was just doing some research for a similar thing, which is this was all part of a big piece of research I was doing for something else, and they said that I wish I could remember the percentages, but having a customized experience for the users based on preferences is huge. So you can
mhm.
do that for travel experiences and all sorts of other
Ooh.
things, not just this. So um, I can do, if anybody wants me to give you the numbers on that, I've got a bit of a report. I just don't have it polished up for this type
Mhm,
of thing. But yeah, I think we're going to see more and more of this, especially as token prices seem to be coming down.
mhm.
Um, yeah, it's going to be
So
interesting.
this is going to be a plugin for WooCommerce. This is going to be standard on Amazon and Shopify. Um,
I think it's going to become commoditized pretty quickly.
mhm,
The question is how elegantly do you wire it in to your interface. It's think of it like mobile interfaces a while ago.
mhm,
It seemed more challenging, but as time went on, the ability to create a mobile interface, frameworks were popping out of the woodwork, Ionic, Bootstrap, yada
sure.
yada yada. And then the question is, how do you take that framework and make it so the customer has the best experience? But it's not like having a mobile website alone and just making it so it loads with Bootstrap
Mm,
was like going to give you that big of a competitive advantage. But making it so users could get from point A to point B while they're sitting on a bus, without
mm,
a computer in front of them as quickly as possible and enjoy that experience. That was where the real money is there.
mm.
And I
I
think the
mean, it's
same thing
just
with this.
it's just the next paradigm shift, right? So first you had a website, then you had e-commerce, then you needed a mobile website, then you needed a mobile app, and at every single one of those, they said, if you don't have this next thing, you're toast. Um,
Well, and I'll
mm,
challenge the mobile app the same way I'll actually challenge the AI. Is not every website needs to be a mobile app. That's
mm,
different than having a mobile optimized website. If people should be able to consume, pretty much any website, whichever way they like. But that doesn't mean you need to make an app. And the same thing
mm,
goes with this. Like, but you couldn't make Uber without having an app. We've kind of debated that one a little
mhm,
bit. But you could have a taxi, but it wouldn't be Uber. But this one's the same way. Like just slapping AI and everything's
mm,
not exactly it. But if you have, a product line that people would rather just have a conversational chat with it to
mm,
understand more about the products and understand, the knowledge
mm,
behind it and get support for it. And that actually would,
mm,
take the hassle off of having so many human people creating or having, customer service people having these conversations. Maybe
right.
it's worth it. So do the
Or
math is
or
what I'm saying. There's no one size fits
yeah.
all here.
Or you have a massive product catalog that is super customized, or you're serving super niche items. Um, yeah, do you need this in the grocery store if you're doing DoorDash? Probably not as strong a use case. But if you've got tens of millions of unique parts that only fit specific items, it makes a lot more sense.
Yeah, and it's very interesting. You want to look for what people are searching for. So, if you've got a product, and I'm trying to think of, I searched for something today. Oh, marketing. I searched for marketing, and if we, 10 years ago, we would have done an exact string match, and if it didn't match, you'd be
Mm,
out of luck, right? So, I was searching for a specific type of person to hire, and but marketer. you
mm,
know there was a couple of variations in using AI right now and vector databases and all that. It actually returned results for things that were there the word marketing, marketer,
mm,
market, I can't remember what it was, but it knew all the other things I was looking for, and it returned results for them.
mm.
And if I would have misspelled it, it actually probably would have done a pretty good guess at that. So those
Right.
tools are becoming more and more popular. So if you're still using just raw text search without having the ability to like be intelligently swap
Mm,
out words that they might have meant, then you're going to have trouble competing versus people that do. And it's not, that's all standard commercial stuff. It's not like you got to like have a PhD to make that happen.
Hmm. Whereas
It's all
before you might have done this with tags or something, which is, first of all, labor intensive and not nearly as comprehensive.
yeah. Yeah, so it's an interesting time to be alive with so much commercially available technology
Hmm.
coming in that you don't need a PhD or a data science team to use being on the
Hmm.
market. And so I'm happy to be helping people with that. With that said, shall we shall I wrap it up?
Bring it home, Matt.
So
How should
I am
people?
happy. I
Why
run
and how should people
schematical.com.
talk to you?
I run schematical.com. If you need help with stuff like this, that's what I do. I help people do this at scale, and we're doing a lot of AI work, keeping people on the cutting edge, keeping your product on the cutting edge. So happy to help with that. So feel free to reach out to us. With that said, everybody have a great day, and
And
cheers.
good evening, as it's getting dark here because I can hardly see myself anymore in this
I
video.
can't see you.
I'm still here. I'm still
All
here.
right. Have a great day, everyone.